Dairy farming is an important agricultural enterprise in Kenya. It provides milk for consumption, hence improving the nutritional status of the population and earns farmers income from the sale of milk. Marketing of the milk produced by farmers also provides employment to many Kenyans in the formal milk market chain, such as collection, transportation, cooling, processing and distribution. It is also a key source of employment to a number of people in the support service sectors that include supply of breeding stock and materials, fodder and feeds, dairy equipment, veterinary and financial services, among others. The Kenya Dairy Board has put in place efforts to strengthen the dairy industry in the country in order to secure value for the dairy farmers while creating opportunities for the growth in the domestic and export markets. In this program, we will learn about how to produce high quality and safe raw milk fit for processing and value addition, and hygienic handling of milk, and how to carry out basic milk quality tests. Let us begin with how to get high quality milk, which is essential for processing of high quality and safe dairy products. As Mr. Fred Njage, a dairy production specialist from Kiambu, explains, milk quality is affected by many practices, including health of the cow, feeding, housing and hygienic milking, among others.
Dairy animals need nutritious, safe and quality feeds, without which quality and safe milk production cannot be guaranteed. A dairy animal must be provided with a balanced diet and adequate amounts of water for it to produce high quantities of milk of good composition. In fact, we often advise farmers to make sure that animals have access to clean water all times so that they can drink as much as they want. Do not feed the cow with silage during milking or shortly before milking, as this will give rise to unpleasant flavors in the milk. It is recommended that silage feed is provided 2 hours before milking. Some farmers also feed their cows with brewery waste. This is undesired because it may result in milk with odor. Farmers should also not use rotten cereals such as maize as feed because this is likely to contaminate milk with aflatoxins.
If cows are fed on a diet that is low in fiber and high in starch, the butter fat content may fall below the acceptable minimum of 3.25%. So, a good balance of dry matter high in fiber content in the diet is recommended. You may give the cow feed supplements, but be sure to observe proper proportions. Other than feeding, it is important to keep your animals free from diseases. A cow infected by disease feeds less and produces less milk of poor quality. Cows should always be kept free of disease because sick animals can transmit diseases like tuberculosis and brucellosis to milk consumers through the milk. If you suspect your cow is sick, do not treat it, but contact a qualified veterinary practitioner immediately. Veterinary Officer Fred Njage tells us more.
When the cow is treated with antibiotics, remember to ask the veterinary doctor the period it will take before the milk from the treated cow is safe for consumption or sale. This is called the withdrawal period and it will vary from one antibiotic to another. Also, keep your animals in clean housing. Make sure that your animals are kept in clean and spacious sheds. It is advisable that the sheds are cleaned regularly, preferably every day, by removing dung and urine, leftover feed and water. Dirty cow sheds are breeding grounds for diseases like mastitis. In zero grazing units, give a space of at least 4 square meters per cow.
By far, the most common disease associated with milk quality is mastitis. It is caused by bacteria. It is common in animals living in dirty quarters with wet bedding materials, manure and polluted water. These bacteria can also end up in the milk and result in illness if the milk is consumed. For this reason, milk from cows suffering from mastitis should not be sold or used at home. You can control mastitis by observing general hygiene and proper milking procedures. Here are the udder should be kept short by trimming. Dipping teats in a disinfectant after milking is a good practice. Cows suffering from mastitis should be milked last and their milk properly disposed. The affected animals should be treated by a qualified veterinary practitioner without delay. Milk from the udder of a healthy cow contains very few bacteria. Poor hygiene introduces additional bacteria that causes the milk to get spoiled very quickly. To ensure that raw milk remains fresh for a longer time, you need to practice good hygiene during milking and when handling the milk afterwards. Now let us delve onto how to handle milk in accordance with good hygiene practice. We meet Mrs. Margaret Njoguna of Gatanga, Murang'a County, who is trained in dairy production and herself is a dairy farmer.
The starting point for hygienically handling milk is the milking equipment. We use aluminium and stainless steel containers. Aluminium or stainless steel containers are recommended in milking, storage, and transport as they are easy to clean and sanitize. Reuse of plastic jerry cans to store and transport milk is highly unsafe as the containers are difficult to clean and may contain residuals of chemicals previously packaged in the container, for example, herbicides and cleaning chemicals. Now, before the actual milking begins, wash hands with soap and clean water, then dry hands with towel. Clean the cow's udder and the teat using warm water, then wipe the udder dry with a clean towel. Here, always use one towel per cow and do not share one towel for more than one cow because this might transfer disease-causing bacteria, including mastitis, from one animal to the other. Apply milking salve or milking jelly. This is to prevent cracking of teats and eases milking.
You may be wondering why warm water is used to wipe the cow's udder. This is known to also stimulate milk letdown. Before milking, milk from each teat should be checked for visible defects. If the milk is abnormal, it should not be used for human consumption. Milk from cows affected by mastitis has blood clots. If mastitis is detected, the cow is milked last and its milk is not mixed with that from other healthy animals. It is disposed. After milking, sieve the milk using a white filter cloth or a sieve to remove impurities like animal hair. Disinfect, wash and dry the cloth or sieve after use. When transferring milk between containers, we pour the milk instead of scooping, since scooping may introduce spoilage bacteria. Mrs. Njoguna has additional precautions from her practice.
The milk is delivered to the collection center as soon as possible, but within 2 hours of milking. If for some reason we are not able to deliver the milk immediately, we store it in a cool, clean place, preferably lockable room set aside for milk only. If we are storing overnight, then we keep the milk refrigerator at 4 degrees centigrade. The milk can also be preserved by immersing the containers with milk in cold water. We do not mix warm morning milk with cool evening milk. We deliver to the collection center separately. I am happy that through the milk proceeds, I was able to buy a refrigerator which I use in cooling the milk.
In the last part of this program about hygienic milk production, we learn how to carry out basic milk quality tests. Zorain Baraka, a qualified dairy technologist, walks us through some easy procedures.
Basically, we have 4 main tests that a farmer can use. 1, we have a sight and smell test. The second test is called Clot on boiling test. Then the third test is called the alcohol test. And finally, we have the Tomita test. Let us begin with the Organoleptic Test, which uses the senses of sight and smell. This test is performed fast and involves assessing the milk with regard to its smell, appearance and color. This test is quick and cheap to carry out, allowing for segregation of poor quality milk. No equipment is required, but the tester should have a good sense of sight and smell. Milk that cannot be adequately judged in this way is subjected to tests that are more objective. We move on to the second test, which is Clot on boiling test. This test is quick and simple. It allows for detection of milk that has been kept for too long without cooling and has developed acidity, or colostrum milk that has a very high percentage of protein. Such milk does not withstand heat treatment. Boil a small amount of milk for a few seconds in a spoon or other suitable container. The milk will be rejected if there is visible clotting, coagulation or precipitation. The third test is alcohol test. The specific type of alcohol used is known as ethanol. This test is more sensitive to lower levels of acidity and can therefore detect bad milk that may have passed the previous two tests. It also detects milk that has been kept for too long without cooling, colostrum, or milk from a cow with mastitis. Use a syringe to draw equal amounts of milk and ethanol into a small tube or glass. Mix 2 ml of milk with 2 ml of ethanol and observe for clotting or coagulation. If the tested milk sample coagulates, clots or precipitates, the milk will be rejected. The fourth and last test is Tomita test. This test is used to determine if the milk has been adulterated with added water or solids. Addition of water or other substances to milk can introduce bacteria that will make it spoil quickly. Adulteration of milk is also being dishonest to consumers and is therefore illegal. The Tomita test is based on the fact that milk has a heavier weight or density compared to water. When milk is adulterated with water or other solids are added, the density either decreases, that is if water is added, or increases if solids are added. The equipment used to measure milk density is called a lactometer.
In this program, we have learnt about how to produce high-quality raw milk for processing of quality and safe products fit for human consumption, how to follow good hygienic practices in handling of milk, and how to carry out basic milk quality tests. Always remember that quality assurance begins at the farm. Therefore, a farmer must do all it takes to ensure that dairy animals produce high-quality milk. In addition, good hygiene practice in milk production and handling is the key to milk quality and safety. Remember, the Kenya Dairy Board is responsible for enforcing adherence to these and other standards to ensure availability of safe and quality milk for all consumers. The Kenya Dairy Board, quality milk for health and wealth.